Hi, this is Eric Martin with Board Game Geek. I'm here with David Carl and Richard Luxem from Steamforged Games, and we'll be getting an overview of Dark Souls, the board game, which collected quite a bit of money.
Quite a bit, yeah. I think it was 3.7 million, so it's a lot of cash. Pounds, UK.
It was over 5 million there.
Yeah, 5 million US.
Yeah. Okay, well, there's some fees involved and other sorts of issues, but what are you doing with this money?
Was it Caribbean island? Was it? Yeah,
that's right. You would not be here.
But then we went with actually making the grade.
Yeah, so we've, me and DC and the other designers, Maha and the crew, we've been just literally locked ourselves away for a couple of weeks. Okay. We got a lot of the core mechanics kind of solidified down, got it finalized, and basically we're now already in production. So some of the miniatures have already gone to China, they're getting produced over there, and we can't wait to get this product in people's hands in April next year. So. Okay.
All right. So what are we doing?
Right, so we have in front of us the boss mechanic fight. It's the one that was seen in the Kickstarter. Okay. So this is the best way of kind of showing people how the core game works. So this is the interactions of how to attack things in the game, how the damage and stamina work, and how you move around the boards. We'll talk a bit about, as well, the exploration side of the game as well, but this is a good way of showing that.
Okay. So what are we looking at here in terms of characters and...
So the game has quite a few tiles in it that are node-based. So as you move through the exploration phase of the game, you'll come into a tile, and your characters, you have 1 to 4 characters together. You'll come into the room, we'll flip over the card from an encounter deck, and it will tell you, that maybe in this room we're fighting one sword hollow and a hulking hollow here who's much more dangerous. And then you'll play through that encounter and collect souls. As people who have played the Dark Souls board game know, very important commodity. When you have your souls, you can then go to the NPCs.
The bonfire, and the NPCs.
Collect some treasure, you can level up, you can get better and stronger, because you're going to need to get better and stronger in order to face down the boss.
Okay. Dark Souls is quite, the video game is quite a punishing game for anyone who didn't know, so the difficulty in this game is quite hard. And that's not to say it's just like, this is impossible to beat. It's all about the tactical choices you make in the game. Okay. And you can't just run in and start beating away at someone, because you will die if you've done that. So you really need to think about how to interact with the enemies, how do they move, and we have a very clever system. So each of these enemies you see here, they all come with an AI ability, so they will act independently. This game can be played 1 to 4 players, so you can sit down on your own and play against the game, which is quite unique. The bosses, which we'll come on to later, they have their own AI deck as well, so they come with multiple cards that show different moves as they progress through.
Okay. Are these character cards?
Yeah, so these are our prototype cards. They're going to be more... So in the real game, these will come on a small die-cut sheet. They'll have wooden blocks for marking stamina and damage, etc. But for the prototype, we use a dry wipe to mark them.
A simplified character system.
Yeah, we've got 4 stats in here. So we have the strength, dexterity, faith and intelligence, and different things in the game work off different ones. So if you make a standard attack, they'll go for your strength, and the number indicates how many dice you would get, and the colour would indicate the style of dice. So the dice themselves, if we were on a red dice, for instance, we have a free kind of a 2 and a 1, so much more likely to get more high results. The blues, which are your weaker attacks, do have blank sides, so they're a little bit easier to access. The dexterity, if you're using range attacks, that'll be based off dexterity. You'll be able to use that off that. It's also used for dodging as well. We'll come on to dodging and blocking later. And faith and intelligence, again, will be based off faith-based classes like clerics, things like that. And the intelligence will be used for classes like mages, etc.
Throwing your fireballs.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be advancing through different rooms, trying to fight different people.
Yeah, each room you go into will have a new encounter card. And so you'll definitely want to pay attention to the enemy's behaviors. And taking down those enemies rewards you there. The souls lets you get more equipment, and you can go back to the bonfire and rest. As in Dark Souls, when you go back to the bonfire, it resets. So you could choose to explore through several rooms a few times until you get to the fog gate, it's called. So there's an actual token for, here's the fog gate. Those familiar with Dark Souls have seen that shimmery white portal. And when you go through that, you'll be up against a boss encounter.
Okay.
So it's important to kind of get your guys a lot better, kind of level up, equip up, figure out how to fight the different bad guys, and then once you're ready, take on that boss for the first time.
So that would be the dancer. So
these are all demo characters. This is not final production.
No, it's not final production. So these, they're 3D prints from the actual model cells. The quality will be very similar. So the studio we're using is a really high quality plastics.
They'll lay it down.
But yeah, the studio we're using will be a high quality PVC product. So there'll be one-piece models coming into the box. So if you've seen games like Blood Rage, things like that, that's the kind of quality you're going to get from these miniatures. So won't be too dissimilar from what you see here, but we're going to have quite a few large different scale models. So you can see the dancer there is pretty big compared to the other 28 or 32 models. So, and there is models that are higher scale again. So we do have some add-ons that have been unlocked during the Kickstarter campaign, which are the mega bosses, and they are basically 150 mil base. So they are massive. So
it's like I'm going to smite your knee.
Yeah, like literally. The big ones, they're talking 15 centimeters tall by 15 wide, very huge mega bosses. And our manufacturing guys, we're kind of scared when we said this is what we're going to do, and like, can we do it? No one's done it before, and they were like, we can do it. So we cannot wait over the next few weeks and months. So you're going to see some of these products and see some of the production samples come out that we can show you, because at the moment we're still just in the stage of sending that away. So
your exploration encounters typically take place just in the confines of one tile. You'll fight a few hollows, you'll fight some knights, but when you get to the boss fights, they're bigger. Those mega bosses Rich was just talking about, they are on multiple tiles.
Yes.
Sometimes 4 or even 6 in the most extreme cases. So you have a huge area in which you're trying to maneuver.
This size, are they?
On the mega bosses, they're a little bit smaller, so they can mirror out. And the way we've built the world is to make sure we've thought very carefully about the size of the board space, the physical board space. So there's a couple of ways you can set the actual thing up to make sure it's copable. So you don't need a 20 foot by 20 foot play area to play in. So
yeah, the mega boss ones are not quite this big.
Yeah.
But that allows the bosses and mega bosses to have more of that maneuvering element. The maneuvering element can be very important in a video game where you're trying to figure out how the bosses are interacting with the room and with the players. But even more important is the behavior.
Yeah.
Like anyone who's played through a good boss fight in a video game, it's been like, okay, it's going to swing its sword, now it's going to step back, now it's going to shoot a fireball, and that's captured by the behavior deck.
Yeah. The behavior deck is quite a unique feature where you'll have like 10 to 15 behavior cards for each boss in the main set. And you would choose 5 to actually play with during the encounter on the boss. So it's always going to have a new experience, and basically these are flipped over when the boss does an action. So you see this one here, it's a sweeping sword attack. This gives an ability where you move 1 and you attack for free and push back. So the dancer will move 1 towards the nearest enemy. Say if he's there we go. He'd move towards, in this case he wouldn't be in range, but say he was there, he'd move 1 towards, do the attack, and then he'd push this guy into one of the adjacent nodes, okay? And then the next attack will come along. So in this case it'd be a grab attack, it's a static attack. He would grab to the right and then twist around to the right and slam the guy down. So there's a few different types of attacks. Some ones are static movement, some are aggression ones like you saw there where they actually will move towards the enemy, and some are just kind of ones that happen where, got one there, like Backdraft again is a static one. They will attack the back arc and leave the front open. You'll notice on the cards as well that they have a little red and green area. You might be able to get that on there. Basically that shows the arcs that attack. So you have front, rear, left, right and rear. And basically if it's green, that's where they're attacking, and that leaves one side vulnerable. If a side's vulnerable, you'll get an additional blue dice when you attack that area. DC will probably tell you now about how the attacks actually work on the card and how the stamina works.
So when the boss attacks you, it'll attack in an arc, like this green front arc. If we can clear off a few nodes here, it would be the 3 front nodes from where it's standing. And the faces will be marked in the game so that people can see where the boss is facing.
Right.
And then also, just as importantly, where it's weak. Because if you attack in that weak arc, you're going to be able to do significantly more damage than just swinging at it where it's not weak. So you want to kind of pay attention to those behaviors, because once the boss has gone through all of them, they're not reshuffled. They simply start over again from the beginning. So if you remember, next coming up is that backdraft one where he just shoots everyone behind him with fire. Well, let's not stand behind him right now. Let's get around. He's going to be weak in the front, and let's deal some real damage. For you to deal damage, you're going to spend stamina for your attacks. So you'll mark in these circles, and that will be using up your stamina to make attacks against the boss. But you'll see here it says damage, and the damage is coming in from the other side. So when the boss makes a big swing at you and deals 3 or 4 points of damage after you've used up some stamina, once those meet, once there's no blank circles in between, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've really got to think about your stamina management. How many attacks do I make? Do I go all out here, or is the boss going to kill me? So you've got to really be careful of how you attack and when you attack, and work out how to actually take this boss down. And the boss tends to have about 30 to 35 health from the ones we've got. So they take quite a while to actually to get down.
You do have time then to sort of figure out its method of attacking.
Yeah. Now the cool thing as well is that when the boss gets down to about 50 health, we actually take a card called the heat up mechanic. So that gets added into the boss deck, and it gets shuffled as well. So when he's getting to his last throes of death, he will kind of bring a new attack in. It's quite more powerful. They'll change the order again, and it just increases that intensity that gamers feel to try and take these guys down, because they really are quite tricky. You know, an unarmed party with no gear would probably die pretty quick to this guy, but by the time they get to him in the encounter, you might have a chance.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, it just died.
Yeah.
So long. Okay, anything else to cover? Or
well, one of the other things that's important to note with the bosses is that when they heat up, they also reshuffle the cards. You see the reshuffle?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
so you've got to kind of relearn the movement pattern, and now deal not just with a new superpowered card that's going to be taking you out, but also with figuring out how exactly their behavior works now. So each time you're going to have to learn the pattern, and then if you're not dead yet, learn a new pattern. And it really evokes that boss feel, like from a video game. It's not just a boss because it's big, but it really acts like one. We've all seen boss fights where suddenly, roar, it's bigger, it's stronger, it's faster, and it really kind of comes to life on the tabletop.
Yeah.
All right. Until you're dead.
Until you're dead. Yeah. And you do die a lot.
But that's not the end.
It's not the end. No, it's not the end. So once you've actually gone through, we'll have a suggested layout, but you would fight a mini boss for your first run through. So that would have its own encounter deck. You'd find the mini boss, and once the mini boss dies, that will then, you'd flip the tiles, and you then adventure through to the main boss. So you kind of, again, you'll keep the progression you've made up to that point, and you then start exploring, killing the mobs on there. They're going to be a bit harder because you're on a main boss expansion, so the encounters themselves will come with a difficulty rating, and there'll be construction options of how to do that. And then once you kill the main boss, you do have the option after that to take on a mega boss if you have one as well. So the gameplay experience can be anything from 60 minutes for a mini boss run through to 120 to 180. So you can really scale, and we expect a lot of people to take the kind of toolbox nature of some of this product and really kind of customize it and homebrew it and make 4, 5, 6 hour long nights of playing Dark Souls. So we're really trying to give the fans the experience they're expecting out of this product.
All right. One of the things that is different between the video game and the board game is in the video game you can come back at the bonfire any number of times. You just play until you feel like turning off your Xbox. Obviously that doesn't work for a board game. So each time your party does die and has to go back to the bonfire, the sparks of the embers die down a little bit, and eventually the bonfire will go cold, and you won't be able to come back anymore. So you definitely want to pay attention to the enemies, especially the mini boss and the main boss, and learn what they're going to do so that you can defeat them in order to win the game before you've died too many times.
Okay. All right. Well, I like our sign staring at us here with all this talk about death here. Just to remind people. All right. Thanks very much for the overview.
No worries. Thank you.
And good luck.
Thanks. Thank you very much.